Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to everyone. Welcome. It's a most wonderful evening, a most wonderful day. This poem, for our opening poem, is by Kari, and he lived from 1884 until 1949. He was born in Pinsk. He wrote his first published Hebrew poem at the age of 12. This is originally a Hebrew poem. It's not in your books, it's not in your prayer books. And so we just want to just listen. God of lonely hours, God holy and awesome, who breathed my puzzled Jewish soul so apparent and so hidden within me. And within me kindled the human light in all its colors, God who made me an emblem for my age. At dusk, dawn, noon, you grind me with desert stone, sand, and with sweet promise of grapes that will be wine. You lure me and hang me over the abyss of my own depths, day after day. Don't now disappear, you who keep me whole. Be with me, gather my blossoms falling at your feet, my honest thanks for your love and being's wonder. At this time, I'd like to invite up, this is on, that's why it's leaking out. There we go. I'd like to invite up Sal and Stephen Loon for lighting the candles for Shabbat. They were our hosts tonight.
were finished in all their array. And on the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy. For on it, God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Thank you. מקרובך ושירתה, תושבעת ולמטה, תמיד רבי אבא, ידרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bivaro ma'ariv aravim, בחוכמה פותח שערים וביא תבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, מסדר את הכוכבים בשמורותיהם ברקיע כצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, בונה צבאות שמו. החי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הרבים. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. Vishamru.
Vishamru, Israel, et Hashabah, Nasor, et Hashabah, that he who reigned, B'nai Israel.
this time we think of those who are in need of healing of mind or body, those who are facing trials, those who are seeking healing and wholeness. The Mishaberach prayer is found on page 253.
Oh
and that's a fitting start to our installation. I'm eager to introduce our guest rabbi, our guest speaker, our installer, which sounds like she comes with a set of instructions from IKEA. Hopefully this will be a little more understandable. I think it will be, actually. She's also a dear friend. I'm going to read to you her bio. Rabbi Mary L. Zamor currently serves as the executive director of the Women's Rabbinic Network. That's actually how we met, focusing especially on the gender-based pay gap within the Reform movement. She's also the editor of and contributing author to The Sacred Table, creating a Jewish food ethic from the CCAO Press, which was designated as a finalist by the National Jewish Book Awards, ordained by the Hebrew College Jewish Institute of Religion. You would think I went there too. In New York, though. She was from New York. I was ordained in Cincinnati. But she was ordained in 1997, and she graduated from Columbia College and also studied at Yad Vashem and Machon Hades. Rabbi Zamor is a frequent contributor to the Huffington Post, and she's also, she told me tonight at dinner, working on a second book, which I'm eagerly awaiting.
So I want you to picture early 1900s Berlin. Regina Jonas wants to be a rabbi. She was born in 1902. And in fact, she ended up studying in one of the major seminaries in Berlin. But female students were only allowed to be there if they were studying to just enrich themselves or, at best, be a teacher. But she hoped that they would make the exception for her. And so she continued to lobby, and finally she was given permission to write a thesis on the topic whether or not women could be ordained to be rabbis. And so in 1930, her thesis was well received by the faculty and in fact praised. And in fact, you can even read it in English translation today. I have, it's quite wonderful. But they would not ordain her. And so she went out into the workforce and she became a teacher and worked with girls. And she continued to lobby them. And they still would not ordain her. But she did get the praise and the attention of Rabbi Max Dieman, executive director of the Conference of Liberal Rabbis. And you see there are two ways one can be ordained rabbi. One is from individual rabbi to individual, transmission that is ancient and really the beginnings of what it means to be a rabbi. But in our modern age, and even in 1930, it was really considered that it is most appropriate, just as one would receive a master's degree or a bachelor's degree or a doctorate, that an institution certifies you, ordains you, gives the hechsher, we might say in Hebrew, of being a rabbi. And so she did not earn this, but Rabbi Dieman did ordain her, one individual rabbi, now having a protege to be another rabbi. And you would think this could be the beginning of an amazing movement of women becoming rabbis in the hotbed of what would really be, is today known as Reform Judaism and had been transitioned over to America in the early 1880s. This could have been really quite something. But unfortunately, after 1935, when she was finally ordained, well, we know the story of what was happening in Germany at the time. And in fact, strangely enough, as rabbis were being deported by the Nazis to concentration camps and work camps, and some were able to escape, opportunities opened for Regina Jonas to be a rabbi, an active rabbi, because there were no male rabbis around. And so she went from teaching behind the scenes, albeit with the title rabbi, to actually standing on a bima and preaching to congregations that were so desperate for words of support and hope. And even when she was deported to Theresienstadt, she continued to preach and teach and give pastoral care and support and give those glimmers of hope to her people. And in fact, she followed her fellow inmates to her final deportation to Auschwitz in 1944, where her story unfortunately ended. So where does the story continue for women rabbis? Well, the Enlightenment, which gave birth to Reform Judaism, first in Germany and then was imported to America as German Jews came over to our country, had a hotbed within the Midwest, especially Cincinnati. And so our story continues actually in 1946 when a young woman was born, Sally Priesand. And so she was born in Cleveland, and of course Cleveland, knowing about Cincinnati, about Hebrew Union College, wrote at age 16, believe this, at age 16, saying that she wanted to be a rabbi. Now, in many ways, neither of these women, and none of the first I'm going to mention in the next few minutes, saw themselves at the beginning of a movement, as a social force. Each one wanted just to be a rabbi. It was a personal endeavor. It was really their best expression of who they were and what they wanted to be as Jews. They wanted to be educated Jews, and they wanted to educate other Jews and lead other Jews. And so Hebrew Union College at the time had a program that was co-ed, but it was for undergraduates, and it was for teachers. And they too allowed Sally Priesand to participate with the understanding that she would never be ordained as rabbi. But she persisted and she persisted. And she gained allies. And indeed, she was ordained in 1972, 45 years ago. And you know, there are other firsts. 1974, Sally Sasso became the first woman ordained in the Reconstructionist movement. 1985, Amy Alberg in the conservative movement at JTS in New York City. 2006, this is a name most people don't know. Haviva Ner David, ordained an Orthodox rabbi, again in private ordination. Very, very controversial, as you can imagine. But just think, I mean, this is so many years after Rabbi Priesand and Regina Jonas. Those were controversial in their own times, very much so. In 2009, Rabbi Avi Weiss, a very important figure in our modern times in terms of innovation within Orthodoxy, ordained, and yes, ordained Sarah Hurwitz. And for a brief moment, Sarah Hurwitz was referred to as rabbi, and then with the uprising of complaints, they started to call her and other women after her Maharat, an acronym to refer to all the responsibilities, which basically boiled down to being a rabbi. Some of these women have gone on to call themselves rabbi, refer to themselves rabbi, and their communities continue to call them rabbi, because that's what they are. There are many other firsts, important firsts along the way. And those who set the path are very important to us. Certainly to myself and to Rabbi Tuling and our colleagues within the Reform movement, Rabbi Priesand is our matriarch. Regina Jonas is very important to our history, but that was a singular event. For a seminary to say, yes, we will now start ordaining women, and this is the first woman to be done, that is our matriarch. And every time we gather, we gather around here to hear her stories, and wow, does she have stories, and wow, can she be pretty open about them. But there were many other firsts along the way. And the reality is that in 45 years, with over 700 women in the Reform movement ordained as rabbis, and hundreds other as conservative rabbis and Reconstructionist rabbis, and all sorts of other shades of Judaism, the path is still being cleared for us. And so much has happened. I mean, now we have children growing up in congregations where it is just normal and natural to have women presidents of congregations, women singers being cantorial soloists or cantors, women leading in all sorts of ways, of course, as rabbis. Everyone likes to tell stories of children in religious schools, little boys who eventually look up and ask, innocent questions like, can boys be rabbis? But the funny thing is, and we all have to be honest about it, when you're out in the world and you say the word rabbi, people don't think of women who look like me, they don't think of women who look like Rabbi Tuling, and they certainly don't think of women. They think of a man in a black suit with a big beard and a hat. And every single day and every single week, we're reminded of that. Now, that's not to say that in 45 years, the path hasn't been cleared in amazing ways. I noticed next to my seat the women's Torah commentaries under the prayer book, that nice green volume, that seminal work of women's scholarship in the Reformed Jewish world. Women rabbis, women scholars, thought leaders, amazing minds joining the conversation after millennia. And as we have been part of a conversation, we've been able to shape the conversation equal partners with men. And so Mishkan Tefillah, the prayer book that we prayed out of tonight, is deeply shaped by that conversation and that ongoing partnership and leadership. But there are still challenges. One of the things that Rabbi Tuling mentioned that I'm working on quite intensely these days is getting the Reform movement to admit that there's a persistent pay gap within our community for every level of professional, not just rabbis. And we've been able to gather all the stakeholders within the Reform movement and say why, after all these years, we've only hit 85 cents for every dollar that men make. It's across the whole board on average. Why isn't that women are applying to be the heads of large congregations at the same rate that they are being ordained? Why aren't they proportional to the number of women who are actually rabbis today? And of course, I would be remiss not to mention what we've seen this past week throughout America, the Me Too campaign. I know many of you are just shaking your heads. It brings chills to me. It's been a hard year overall in terms of facing the progress women have not made in America. And the Me Too campaign has driven that home. And within our own rabbinic community, we've had many conversations of Me Too. So there's a great deal yet to be done. But I'd like to mention one other first. In 2013, Kari Tuling became the first woman to both be ordained by Hebrew Union College in 2004 and to receive a doctorate from Hebrew Union College in 2013. It's a very nice first. And it earned her place on a list of firsts in the Sacred Calling, 4 Centuries of Women's Ordination, book by the CCR Press. If you have the opportunity to look at that list, it's quite extensive. Some of those firsts might give you a giggle. They refer to first woman being pregnant while being ordained, first woman, Persian woman being ordained, first Syrian woman, it's really, but the reality is that every one of those firsts for women rabbis have been very important. Because ultimately we want to get to the day where we're no longer talking about firsts. And I know for this congregation, Rabbi Tuling is the first woman who has been your rabbi. But ultimately, I think each one of us just wants to be a rabbi. We want to get beyond the first, beyond the title woman rabbi, because that's not what I can tell you I was seeking to be. I was seeking to be a rabbi. We want to get beyond the point where people are surprised when we walk in. We want to get beyond the point where people perhaps only see the surface and remark about the surface, who try to put you in boxes. Oh, that's nice that you're a rabbi. You must be very good with the kindergartners. The children must love you. Yes, the children love me. The adults love me. The academic minds love me. There are men who are wonderful with children, and we rob them of that right when we just put everybody in a box. And so in Rabbi Tuling, you have not a woman rabbi, but an astute leader. You have a brilliant mind, a caring soul. And times are tough out there. The nice thing about being Jewish, and I know this sounds strange, we have faced a lot of tough. I know when times get tough in my personal life and in the world around me, and I get a little overwhelmed, I think to myself, you know what? There's been a lot of tough for we Jews, and we come through. Just look at this week's Torah portion. Noah. There's a lot of bad stuff going on in that Torah portion. A lot of hard times, a lot of people doing awful things. The land was corrupt. That's what our Torah portion tells us. That's how bad it was. It wasn't just the people. It went all the way down to the land. We need synagogues like your synagogue more than ever. We need houses of worship to be able to come in, to receive comfort, to have our minds and souls stirred into action. Because ultimately, what Rabbi Tuling will lead here, the most important place in this entire building is the front door. Both that it will be open as the Talmud teaches us, but also that you will go out. You'll go out enriched from what you will learn here with many, many fine teachers. That will go out into the world and be God's partners in Tikkun Olam to make the world a better place. And so in Rabbi Tuling, and I know I don't need to tell you this, you found a wonderful, strong leader. Someone who leads with humility, with love of family, love of community, love of Judaism. Someone who sees the spirituality and magic in our theology, in our liturgy, but cares about her community and cares about the greater world. Throughout her entire career, both secular and rabbinic, that is what she's done. And so may you be granted the greatest blessing of knowing you as a community have found your b'sher in a rabbi, a leader with whom you can go forward to make the world a better place, both for your families and for your community. King Yiratzon, may that be God's will.
What happens at this time is the community's blessing for me and for my family, which even before words are spoken, I've already been blessed. Not just by what's been said here, but by a community that has welcomed us with open arms, that has been so loving, that has wanted to hear my own unique story, which is unusual and sometimes difficult, and who appointed somebody to call me all the way through the process of placement to make sure that I was doing okay. I mean, I actually got a call about every 2 weeks saying, you know, we're interested and we're in their process, and how are you doing? Is it okay for you? Because we're making sure you're okay. And that's how I knew I was home. I'd like to, at this time, call up our president, Judy Kulik, who's going to do the community blessing for me. She's going to read, and then you'll read the italics. You know the drill. Please rise.
A community blessing for Rabbi Dr. Kari Tuling. Be strong and courageous. Never let Torah fade from your lips. Rabbi Kari. Okay, I can end it.
We had it in there originally.
Today we are blessed, really blessed, to call you our Rabbi.
We are so blessed to welcome you as our leader and teacher.
We look forward to sharing our joys together.
We are thirsty to learn from you
and eager to pray with you. We are hungry for your guidance and vision.
We look to you to help us strengthen our holy community.
Life can be unpredictable and unfair, and we thank you in advance for all the ways you will lift us up and comfort us in times of trouble and sorrow. We thank you for taking on the sacred burden of leadership in Israel.
May God be with you. May God bless you, health and strength.
May the light of the Torah shine strongly within you, illuminating all those you touch.
May your teachings take us higher and higher. May God bless your efforts with success.
May God bless the choices you make. May God bless this community with unity and peace.
May you lead us from strength to strength. May God bless this new path you are about to undertake.
May God bless you with courage and power to be bold. May God watch over you and shield you from harm.
May you be a blessing to this world, and may blessings surround you now and always. Amen.
And now we'd like to invite up our next president, the Executive Vice President, Lynn Kaplan, who will do the community's blessing for the rabbi's family, because of course they're a big part of why I'm able to do what I do.
May God bless you and keep you. May you be blessed and thanked for all you have done to bring our rabbi to this sacred work.
May you be sustained through the knowledge that she has devoted herself to the life of purpose.
May God turn God's face to shine upon you, and may God be gracious to you. May you be gratified by the knowledge that so much of the wisdom our rabbi shares with us comes from lessons she has learned from you.
May we bless you with our awareness that our rabbi's sacred obligations to the Jewish people begin with her obligations to her family.
May you feel God's presence within you always, and may God grant you peace. May the joy that our new rabbi brings to this community be a reflection of the life she lives at home.
May we come to welcome your family into our own, knowing that through connection to each other, we may make it something truly holy.
He was also the head of the search committee. So, thank you. I do.
I'm going to ask you to remain standing if you're comfortable. So I bless Rabbi Tuling at the ark. At the end of my blessing, we'll sing Shechianu together. Rabbi Tuling, Kari, my dear friend, my colleague, my fellow crusader, and my teacher. It is such a blessing to see you here on this bima in this beautiful community. Just walking in this evening, I can feel the warmth of this community and see that it matches the warmth of your heart. And so, Kol Haverim is entering a new chapter in their personal history, and you enter a new chapter not only in your career and your rabbinate, but in your family's history. And so as you go forward together in this beautiful partnership that you have with everyone in this room, I offer you these words adapted from Marshall Falk. May your service here in the synagogue and to its community be filled with the blessings of goodness and of joy for you. Here may you find peace and kindness, friendship and love, creativity, strength, serenity, fulfilling work and dignity, satisfaction, success, and sustenance, physical health, and even radiance. May truth and justice guide your every act for this community. May compassion temper your work. May you blossom, and may this community continue to blossom for your service here. And may you, and may this community become their best selves because of your presence. We say together, Kain Yehi Ratzon. May it be God's will. Amen. Join in Shechianu together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Originally, I wasn't going to say anything, and so it won't be long. Famous last words from a rabbi, of course. But you actually all know from High Holidays that I mean it, actually. I tend to keep my word with that sort of thing. It has been already, in these few months that we've been together, a real joy. I keep getting asked that, actually, how is it going? Are you okay? How's it doing? And the answer is, I'm really having a good time, which seems actually unreasonable. But the reason for that is this congregation takes its name seriously and takes its mission seriously. This idea that we should be a group of friends, that we should speak with the voice of friendship, that we should connect to one another and be a genuine community that cares for each other, that understands that we're here for deeper reasons, that we're here for something that is holy. And that is more important and more, it's something grander than any of the awfulness that happens in the course of our lives. It is something more beautiful, more lasting, more durable, more important, more true. So I feel greatly blessed and somewhat humbled to have been chosen as your rabbi, and I hereby accept that charge, and I will be your rabbi to the best of my ability. Thank you.
I feel like it's truly B'Sher, and in honor of that, we would like to do our co-Haverim anthem, The Voice of Friendship, written by our own Laura Bennett.
Searching for meaning in a troubled world, I need a place where I belong. I am just a single voice, but there's more that I can be when I blend my voice with a greater song. And the voice of friendship joins our lives together. We have the chance to be the best that we can be. Joining hands together, there's no goal we can't achieve. As a community of friends, this I believe. I have so much inside that I can give this world, but I can't do it on my own. Together in this holy place, we'll help each other learn to live these simple truths we've come to know. And the voice of friendship makes a worldwide family, reaching out to join all nations in one song. The tapestry of love and kindness that together we can weave will help repair a broken world. This I believe. And the voice of friendship joins our hearts together with a way to be much more than we can be. Reaching out to one another, we come on and we receive. And blend our voices into one.
You may be seated. On page 288, this is the meditation before the Kaddish. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, and by letting go children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. We're observing the art sites of Betty Miller Osper, Helen Jane Schill, Larry Jane Schill, Molly Orfinger, Selma Kane, and Bernard Bernstein. Are there any other names that should be added to this list?
Lindsay Malia, Douglas Saya.
Any others? If it is your custom, please rise for the mourner's Kaddish. It's found on page 294. Yikadav Yikadash Me Rabbi, Be'amad Yivrach Yutei Namlich Machutei, B'chayechon U'mechon U'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, B'agalav V'izman Kari V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba B'orach Le'olam U'mei Amayah, Yivarach Yishtabach Yitpa'ar Yitramam V'yitlaseh, V'yitadar V'yitale V'yitalal Shmei D'kedusha B'richu, Le'ela Mikro Berchata V'shirata, Tush B'chata V'nechamata, Damiran V'yama V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Mitzvaya, V'chayim Alei V'al Israel V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom V'mamav, V'yaseh Shalom, Alei V'al Israel V'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to those, to us, and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. This time it is announcements and, who's our board representative? Yes, you even told me that, and I, so Lee will do the announcements. All yours.
Well, thank you all for joining us and really filling the sanctuary this evening. What a special evening. I want to thank for the service Rabbi Zamor and Tammy and all of our music makers for making this something very memorable. For those that were able to enjoy the wine and cheese beforehand, Jennifer Lockneck, Harry Cutler, Nancy Janschel, and Jerry Denyer, thank you. For our onig that's going to follow, those same four amazing women, as well as Stephanie and Darren Tischler and Gail and Lauren Shapiro, thank you. This is just the first of a whole series of events this weekend. I won't tell you all the dates and times of every detail, but this Torah service continues tomorrow morning with Torah study and a service. Tomorrow evening is the Comedy Hypnotist event. I believe tickets for the Comedy Hypnotist portion can still be purchased at the door. And Sunday, there's a bagel nosh in the morning. There is family fun at Rose's Berry Farm. If you don't like bagels and berry farms, there's a Yiddish book club, Yiddish book center trip. There's all kinds of events. The other two things I'd point out would be donations for Carol's Closet, as well as a breast cancer awareness program. So take a look at your order of worship for those items. Really the last piece I'd want to say, I'm going to be selfish since I have the microphone, and say that it's nice to have this event several months after Rabbi Tuling has joined us. So rather than having to take Rabbi Zamor's word for how wonderful it is, I think we've all experienced it, and really gotten to know Rabbi Tuling over the past few months. I think we are lucky to have you. Welcome to our community. I have a 6-year-old son. He will be hopefully confirmed by you. I don't know how many years that is, but let's keep it going. Thank you for choosing us.
What is that you want to do? A quick addition, okay.
So there are a whole lot of events today, and because I just stole the microphone for a minute, I'd just like to personally say that I'm sort of overwhelmed a bit today, because 45 years ago today was my bar mitzvah, and my mother, who was my teacher and my love, was not allowed on the bima. And here I am, 45 years later, participating in the installation of the most wonderful rabbi I've ever met. And she's a woman. Just happens to be. So one of the things that we did this weekend for this weekend was a welcome book. And as you can all imagine, We're hearing all the wonderful things about Rabbi Tuling and the expectations, and I've heard firsthand some of her ideas. And those things require funding, and Welcome Book raised a good deal of money, and unfortunately, the printer dropped half a page. So I would like to mention names of people who were very generous in contributions that did not get included, and I will make sure that a page is printed to add to the rabbis so that she will remember the people who wish to be part of this evening. Nancy and Manny Jane Churchill, who you already heard worked very hard and have worked from the beginning of this in planning. Rochelle and Stephen Bloom, who also hosted our dinner tonight for the rabbi, and Rabbi Zamor and others.
She was also the one who kept calling me.
Harriet Elbaum and Harvey Smith, Maggie Resnick and Mark Redmond, Elaine and Dennis Ducharme, and Elizabeth Moynihan and Eva Salzer. So apologies to them that they did not make the printing, but if anybody else was missed, please let me know so that the newly printed page will have all the names. Thank you all.
We also wanted to recognize a couple people in the crowd who have come out today. We have the CEO of the JCC here.
Yeah. David Jacobs, local celeb.
Yes, local celeb. And we also have representatives from the Episcopal Church and from the Congregational Church as well. And we welcome you and thank you for coming out tonight. Did I miss anybody? Okay, and then of course I have one of my childhood friends is here. So you can pump her for information. She is personally responsible for the first service I ever attended. However, she probably doesn't want me to tell the details. I'll just leave that. Okay.
Okay, this is the closing hymn. The words are Kol Haverim and Hallelujah.
You guys sing along. That's where you are.